and welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your hosts, Daniel.
And Daniel.
Daniel, we're back with another top 8 debate.
It's been a while.
It has been a while, and because we're ending up 2021 right now, it is only appropriate that we do the top 8 debate for 2021 games.
Alrighty, sounds good to me. It has been interesting, and now there's a glitch in the system on Board Game Geek right now. So we're just assuming they were in the proper ranking.
Right. It's not effectively showing them.
Yeah.
Because we don't know. But we do want to add a couple caveats. We are filming this on the 22nd of December in 2021. There are plenty of games that we have not played. And when we do our top 8 debate, as always, we pick the top 8 highest ranked games that you and I have both played.
Yeah.
So there are plenty of in here, as shown by our honorable mentions, that
between yours and my honorable mentions, and the audience's honorable
and the audience, that there are plenty of games that either one of us have not played or neither of us have. That it's worth noting that just because these are our top 8 debate doesn't mean that they're the top 8 games that came from 2021. These are just the ones that you and I have both played.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the reason for that being is this way we can have a sound argument for both games. Normally, I'll have the Cup of Doom set up. I'm going to be doing that right now when he starts going through the honorable mentions. It's mostly going to be you doing the honorable mentions while I set up the Cup of Doom.
That's fine. That's fine indeed. So, yeah, like we said, we're going to be doing our top 8 debate. We're going to go into it. The way it works is that we pick the top 8 games that we both played. We've set it up in like a college style of like football bracket. The first seed will be against the 8th seed, the 2nd through 7th, and so on. Then after those, we'll reseed them, and so we're debating them, the highest to the lowest, and we continue until the final one, where we decide what is the best game of 2021 that you and I have both played. And of course, that may change. We'll probably do like a revisit episode and talk about them a little bit further on. So when we made the poll, we posted that on the Board Game Revolution forum on Facebook, and we invited anybody else to make comments and to add in their own games, which we'll be talking about, and some of which I have already looked at, and we'll be talking about our honorable mentions as well. So, also with that being said, we also do we want to go into the criteria already?
No, we'll wait till once we get into the start of the debate.
All right, so let's talk about what everybody else said and added to the list. So, and I'll go ahead and read the votes as well. So the very first one added by Kelly is Lost Ruins of Arnak, which got 39 votes. We both agreed that that was not a release in 2020.
No, because it won the
It was 2020. Yeah, it wasn't 2021. So now the expansion just came out.
Yes.
And it's a great game. It absolutely has every right being up there. It's just that they might have been voting for it because it's new to them or new to our region, whatever the case may be. Skipping past that, Ark Nova, that definitely came out this year.
Yep.
Neither of us have gotten a chance to play it, but I've heard amazing reviews of it.
I've heard really good things about it. So
a lot of people say it's a Terraforming Mars killer for them.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing.
Yeah.
Well, they also say that about the new Ares expedition of Terraforming Mars, too.
True. That was added by Guy. Christopher added Sleeping Gods, Red Raven game.
Oh, man, I really want to play this game.
Yeah, neither of us own it, right?
Yeah, I think our mutual friend Dom is the only one that does.
Yeah, that makes sense. Jason added Cascadia, which honestly, that's one that I'm really, really anticipated for.
Yeah, I want to play that one. It looks gorgeous.
Yep. Mark added The Great Wall.
That one I'm not too familiar. I know the name, and I've heard people talk about it, but I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, it looks stunning. Yeah, you actually have wall pieces that you're building up. It looks really cool. Justin added Unsettled, which I don't know almost anything about.
Yeah.
I believe, actually, was this the one that was the remake of Battlestar Galactica?
No, that's Unfathomable.
Unfathomable.
That will be mentioned later.
Okay, gotcha. Cool deal. So Unsettled.
So Jamie put up Imperium Classics and Imperium Legends. They're pretty much the same game. It's just two different things. I have heard really good things about this, and I want to pick up a copy of either one of them. I don't know which one I would go with. I think Legends, maybe.
Right, absolutely.
Though I'm a history major, or was a history major, I really like classics, too, because you got, like, the Romans and stuff like that in it.
Right. Exactly. I don't know. It's just just because of the fact of what it is, it doesn't look anything different than battling different anachronistic cultures. Like, I don't know. It didn't seem all that interesting to me. But that's a minor thing. And we have someone joining us. It's Illuminous. Thank you so much for joining our chat. Going on to the next one, Mike added Nita Valier.
Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't put this on my honorable
Is this
mention.
a 2021?
I think this is a 2020. I think it came out in Essen in 2020. That might be why I missed it.
Yeah, or like there was a Kickstarter, because absolutely we should be debating this one. If this is a 2021, I imagine it would be on our list, significantly so, because Nita Valier is fantastic. We'll double check that here in a minute, because we might just have to like add that into our list.
Yeah, the next one added by Kirk is Final Girl, and I really, really want to play this one. I heard it's really good. I haven't read the graphic.
I was tempted to back the Kickstarter when it first came out. Very
Interesting.
tempted.
Yeah, no, I was too. It looked really, really good.
Have you played the Hostage Negotiator, which is the system is based off of?
No, I have not.
I will have to bring it over, and because now I think I'm starting to turn you on to only solitaire games. Like you've played plenty of solo games, like of games that you have that have solo modes to them.
Yeah.
Where I like to focus on games that are solo only, and like Onirim and that. But yeah, I've heard Hostage Negotiator is not even close to as good as Final Girl is, which they took everything about it and made it better and better.
And it's based off a graphic novel, from my understanding.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd believe that. Yeah, no, it looks so good. And I like Hostage Negotiator quite a bit. It's one of my up there. It's very lucky, but not so much that it's impossible. So we will check Nita Valier here in a bit. The Final Girl, the next one added by Corey was Unfathomable. That was the one I was mistaken for.
I think our mutual friend Gamehead Geek actually has this one. I do want to try it. I've heard really good things about Battlestar Galactica, other than it's like not really a social deduction, but more of a hidden betrayer style game. And sometimes those get my anxiety up, like you wouldn't believe.
Do you like hidden betrayer games?
Yeah, I love Dead of Winter.
You know, I've heard Game of Thrones Oathbreaker.
Oh, here we go again with this.
I'm just saying.
It's your fault you said social deduction.
That makes way more sense now. It really is a hidden betrayer.
All right, so the next game added by Guy was Furnace. I've heard really good things about it. The box cover is amazing.
Right.
Just haven't played it. I know our mutual friend, we've mentioned him a couple times, Dom, does own this one, so I want to try it.
It gets played at the shop quite often during our game nights, and it's always popular, and it always goes over really well. I also have not been able to play it yet.
And Illumines agrees with it. Furnace is great. Very crunchy. Sounds good.
Are we pronouncing the name? Is it Illuminous or Illumines? Please correct us. And if you just type out your name, that doesn't help. I'm not saying you won't. But also, the next one that was added by Justin was Anno 1800. Now, which looks cool. Yeah. I want to try this one a lot.
You're very hesitant with this, though, too, because of the designer.
Who's the designer?
Martin Wallace.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I have only played one Martin Wallace game, and it was absolute garbage. And I'm not saying all of his games are, because, I mean, obviously he's a popular designer for a reason. But if that game was anything to go off of it, because it had decent reviews, I hated it. Specifically, the game I'm talking about is Via Nebula. I couldn't stand that game.
Oh, okay. See, I really enjoyed Brass. I just never could get it to the table, or Birmingham specifically. Mm-hmm. That's why I don't own it anymore. But this one intrigues me. Apparently, it's based off a video game.
Gotcha. Okay.
Next up, Bethany added Merchant's Cove. Now, I've heard good things about this one. I've been wanting to try it, so it's been something that's on my list to look at, but I just haven't got it to the table or know anybody who owns it.
Right, exactly. Nathan added Project L. Project L looks pretty cool. I don't know what more to say than that, but Project L does look interesting to us. I think this is the one with the like the shapes cut out of the blocks, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I might be wrong on that. But yeah, it looks really nifty to me. Let's see here. Our next one, you're taking care of some logistical stuff.
Yeah.
It's a card builder puzzle game. Cool, thank you. Yeah, Project L looks pretty nifty. Nathan added Oath, which I had the opportunity to buy a couple days ago, and I have one other player who's very interested in playing Oath, but I can't guarantee that I have a group that would be willing to play it.
Yeah, no, we've had a hard time getting Root to the table. I can just imagine trying to get Oath to the table.
I ended up getting rid of my Root because of I didn't like how it was such a slog trying to play it.
It has been so long, I can't remember how to do this.
Right, I don't remember either. Click on the username. Try that. And then there you go.
There we go. That's how it works.
All right, sorry about that. Our next one, Philip added Role Player Adventures.
Yeah, I've been talking about this one a lot. I do want to get this to the table. I do own it. Just haven't got it out yet, so.
That's right. And down on the bottom of this list, we're getting near the end. There's a lot of suggested. David added Golem.
Heard good things about this one. It's one I haven't tried or picked up yet, but I am looking forward to trying this one.
It was from the same designers as Grand Austria Hotel and Lorenzo Il Magnifico.
Yeah, and
but obviously a different artist.
Yeah, I like Lorenzo Il Magnifico. I've never played Grand Austrian Hotel.
Right. Absolutely. And do you want to take the next one?
So the Illumies added, I'm surprised nobody mentioned Dune Imperium. Imperium actually came out last year around the same time, Lost Ruins of Arnak. The only one that came...
2020. Yeah,
2020. Yeah. And the thing that came out this year is the expansion, Dune Imperium Ix.
Rise of Ix.
Rise of Ix. Mm-hmm. So the next one is added by Andy, which is After the Empire.
Yeah. I know nothing about this one.
You do know something about this one.
Do I?
I believe this is the Gray Fox game where it's like you're basically castle defending with the big group. That was the one game I played in the shop when we reopened the shop. It's me, Dom, I think Nate on that back corner. It's that Gray Fox game with the castles. But you kind of looked at it, and that's really, really the only thing we played that night.
Okay.
Because I think we were trying to start a game of Dune Imperium as well.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So that would have been the only one. Why don't you take this next one?
And yes, by the way, Dune Imperium, I do remember it was 2020 because it was on one of my Christmas lists that get...
Oh, yeah. Okay. Cool.
So the next one is Cape May, added by Frank, of course. I've talked about this a lot. I talked about it in one of the episodes. Mm-hmm. The way we recorded this is a little out of order, so it's going to be in the episode after this episode.
We'll talk a little bit more about it then.
Yeah, but Cape May, phenomenal game, very beautiful, does really smart things. I really dig it.
Yeah. The next one added by Nathan was Dice Miner, which this one looked cool. I think that if I'm not mistaken, this is the one with like a cool like 3D little thing where you're actually pulling different dice of different types out.
Yeah.
Looks really neat.
He also added So Clever, and I've heard good things about this one. So Clover, that's right. But I haven't played it, so I can't.
It looks so good.
It looks good.
It looks fantastic. It's right up my alley. I love that style. Next one added by Terry was the Rat Catcher, which know nothing about.
Know nothing about.
I would play it based on that name alone, though.
Yeah, exactly. Douglas added Destinies.
Mm-hmm. Destinies. David added Kanban EV.
And I've heard of it.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
But I don't know anything about it. Same with Destinies. Nick added Mantis Falls, another game I'm not very familiar with.
Yeah, I've never heard of any of that. Mike added Similio, which, yes, I think that was this year, and I completely agree. Even if it wasn't, it's an awesome game. It's making me replace my copy of One Key, hands down. And I'm thinking about getting rid of Mysterium over it.
Really?
Yeah. It's really good. It's a deck of 30 cards, and that's it. And it does that level of deduction quicker, faster, and more efficiently.
Next one on my list here is Adam. He added Coffee Traders. It's one game I've actually looked into. I haven't played it. It's a solo one, right? Yeah, it's a solo one. Mm-hmm. And looking into it, it looks really good. I like the fact that it almost comes like in a coffee tin looking box, but you know me and like the special boxes, they annoy me because shelf space.
Yeah, only a lot. So these next ones that we're going to be listing, some of them came out years prior, so we're not going to take the time to double check what years that they came out. So we'll just mention them real quick. We'll run fast. Did you say Nathan added Gorintu yet?
No, I skipped it
Okay.
on accident.
Yeah, that happens. Okay.
Corinto, Dave added Batoku?
Which I don't think is out yet. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
Ray added Messina 1347.
Bill added Terraforming Mars. Now, if you look at BGG, it does show Terraforming Mars as a 2021
box.
release, but it's mainly the big box. Unless he's mentioning Ares Expedition, which did come out this year.
Right. Mohammed added On Mars.
Vito Lacerda, still haven't played any of his game.
Not yet.
Dan added Trick Shot.
Jens added Ether Fields.
Christian added Dungeon Universalis.
Okay. Cameron added Overboss, which I believe is a boss monster game.
Yes. And yes, Etherfield was last year.
Yep.
And Ray added Old Tree.
Old Tree, yep. All right, so now let's go about the comments. Go ahead and click on that previous three.
Yeah.
So we had Dave said, it seems 2021 did not produce many stellar games, just a bunch of decent ones, which Caitlin said, Onk is quite stellar. And Glenn replied, I agree, maybe except Final Girl, which was exceptional, but not too many people willing to spend that money for a solo-only game.
Yeah,
I don't blame
it was,
him. He's
it
not
was
wrong.
a bit pricey.
Yeah.
Frank adds, I added Kate May. Check it out. Excellent game. That gamer can even enjoy while playing with newbies. And I don't disagree with him at all.
Absolutely. Bethany said, I added Merchant's Cove. I have enjoyed every game, and each one played differently due to the asymmetrical gameplay.
Jason says, I'm shocked a Great Wall is so high with it still being sent out to American backers. I got mine a couple months back in Canada and haven't had the opportunity to play it yet. Now I'm really excited. Went with Ankh, only game I played on the list so far. So unfair, I suppose.
That's not unfair. We're kind of going on the same ideal. And then Lumina said, yeah, like just received their copy of Great Wall as well. And Craig said, though I haven't played it, I am excited for Unfathomable.
I do want to try it. There's more answers. Yeah.
Who knew?
The admin is saying that if you guys want to join this, they'll be doing an official BGR Meeple's Choice, which is the Board Game Revolution Awards, again this year. So this is a good precursor to pull titles from. Thanks.
Yeah, we're glad to help, Thomas,
Yeah.
and thank you for having the platform for us, because we appreciate letting us
put these polls up.
use this. Absolutely. Jimmy said Bitoku, also Project L is 2020. He was clarifying those. That's what I had thought. I thought Bitoku was this year, though. I might be wrong. I thought it wasn't even out yet.
Yeah.
Shows what I know.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know at all. Isaac was just mentioning what Lost Cities of Arnak was, and he was getting known. It was supposed to say Ruins, but again, I think Lost Ruins of Arnak came out. Yeah, because it came around the same time Dune Imperium, because that was the two games that got compared a lot.
Right. Ray just added that he added Messina 1347.
Chris is saying, not played a single one. Been a time for playing loved games, but not many opportunities for people to come and play.
Yep, and it's a shame, too. Steve, I believe I'm pronouncing that name right, Ste, not played any one of them. It's a bummer.
Michael is just confirming Lost Ruins of Arnak is 2020. Arc Nova isn't even out yet, he's asking. Valentine is saying it has been out and he's played it 10 times already. And they're just communicating about where they could find it. It is not out in North America, that's why.
Yeah. And Julia said Blood Bowl, which I think that's 1980s, if I'm not mistaken. It was a while back.
And Illuminus has added that his game or their game of the year is probably Radlands.
Cool. Yeah, tell us more about it. So that was fun. Thank you all for your comments and your suggestions for votes. I'm glad Thomas Covert that we can help out with the Board Game Revolution Forum. As always, we use them as a great resource. Go check it out.
Yeah,
if you're on Facebook, there's no reason you shouldn't be on that group.
It's a good community. I really enjoy working with them.
Be one of the nearly 50,000 members. They're awesome.
Alrighty, so let's get into our list. Before we go over the rules of our game, let's talk about our honorable mentions.
Yeah, so we have a few honorable mentions that we've both enjoyed. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, my number 3 is on both of our lists. Is that right?
Yes, it is. It's actually my number 1.
So do we want to wait till then?
Yeah, we'll wait till my number 1
Okay.
and just start with your 2.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, then you should go ahead.
All right, so my number 3 on my list, it was one that was already mentioned in the honorable mentions of the audience, and that is Overboss, a boss monster game.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why I put this on this list, it's a good game, not a great game, but I wanted to give it a reference point because I don't like boss monster.
Right.
I think it's too lucky. It's too. It's cool. I get the concept. It's funny, but I just didn't really enjoy it the couple times I played it. And so when my buddy busted this one out, I was like, I don't know if I want to play this. I don't know if I'm gonna like it. And then I'm like, all right, fine, we'll play it.
Yeah.
Fine, I'll keep an open mind. One of my resolutions. And we played it, and I honestly really, really liked it. It's a nice little puzzly game, tiling. You're getting a tile, you're trying to put it in the proper area, and you're trying to get the most points at the end of the game. I thought it was phenomenal. They shouldn't have put Boss Monster on the title because it's going to scare some people away.
Right.
This was a very good, crunchy gaming game, simple enough for most people, that I thought it should get on this list to get talked about because for someone who despises Boss Monster, this was a pleasant surprise.
Right. I don't hate it as bad as you do, but it's good. Like, Boss Monster was good. Overboss I haven't played yet, but there was the designer of that also designed a few other, like, apparently pretty well-known names. But yeah, I haven't played it, so I'm looking forward to it one day.
Yeah, people compare this to Azul. I've heard that it kind of plays like Azul because you're drafting a tile and you're placing it in place.
Overboss?
Yeah, and you're trying to get combos based on like your lands and the type of stuff that's in there. Mm-hmm. Like, so if it's skeleton and stuff like that. Plays really good. I really did enjoy it. I could see a little bit of Azul in it, but not that much really. I really love the tiling in it.
Okay. I like tiling. My number 2 honorable mention is one that I bought the bigger brother of this game and I fell in love with it. The big one is Parks, and I owned it for a while and I played it, and I think it's one of the most incredible resource management contract bidding games. And so when the little brother came out, Trails, it was a small little version. It was almost like, I thought it was like a micro version of it, but I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. We'll see if I like it or not.
Yeah.
Because I like Parks a lot. And I played it, and it's different enough where I'm okay owning both of them. And I think that's a good way to compare it too. They do play quite differently. I like the way that the sun sets throughout Trails, because every time you go to the end and back, once you get to the end, you flip over one of the tiles that everybody's traversing along, face down, and then that ends up causing like the sun to start setting, and once it gets to a certain point, then that triggers the end of the game. So you're going back and forth along this path throughout the entire game, getting the resources, trading them in for contracts, getting all sorts of other cool abilities. It's smart, and it's a $20 game. The production value is really high for this, and it plays really well, and it's one of those ones where, like I said, you could own both and you should be fine. They are absolutely fantastic together.
Another thing I like about these games, and Illuminous is saying it too, the art looks nice enough for both of these games. The art's amazing. You can find these in mass market stores.
Yes.
You can find it in Target. You can find them in Barnes & Noble and stuff like that. So
it's really expensive. If you're not sure about Parks, because it's $50 game retail, buy Trails, try it out, and if you like that and want another step up, then Parks is definitely a go-to. You're going to love every second of it.
Yeah, so I've been looking. I still haven't played either one of these, so
Yet.
We
will fix that.
Moving on to my number 2, it is one I've mentioned and talked about in which will be your future episode, is Cartographer Heroes. I really, really enjoy this one. Now, I know people are going to say, hey, isn't that an expansion of Cartographers? It's a standalone expansion. You don't need Cartographers to play Cartographer Heroes. What I like about Cartographer Heroes, it does something different. If you want to play the basic game, Cartographer is your way to go. Yep. If you want something that gives a little more crunch to it, then you want to do Cartographer Heroes. Because the monsters now have special abilities where some of them can spread out. You have heroes that can fight the monsters as you go, eliminate spaces and stuff like that. Some of the scoring cards are a little bit more gamey than the other one, where it's like, hey, just fill out as far diagonally as you can. This one is like, okay, you need to build like your forest. They got to be connected to waters, but then they also have to be the water has to be touching mountains. So it just makes it where you're trying to find that puzzle a little bit better.
Yeah.
And it basically just made it crunchy, more crunchy than what it already was. It was a basic polynomial game, fill out spaces, get your points, buy the scorecards. Still great. They did change one thing that I was looking through the thing. If you get Cartographer Heroes, they have the ruins on the map, but they don't have ruin cards. So you don't have to worry about that if you only have Cartographer Heroes. And another thing is, they changed the season. So normally, I think it was like 8876, and now it's 8776.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so you have less stuff that comes out because of the way the numbers add up.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
All right, Cartographer Heroes.
And my number one, I have a love-hate relationship with the original game. Seven Wonders is what I'm going to talk about, because Seven Wonders, I don't like it. I've just never been a big fan of it. It's okay at best. Like, I will tolerate it if I play.
Seven Wonders Duel put it away for me.
Seven Wonders Duel replaced it for me. And so when they announced Seven Wonders Architects, I was like, okay, what's different about this? And at first I thought it was an expansion. Then they're like, no, you're playing Seven Wonders in a way. You're not drafting. But you're building up your Seven Wonders. They took everything about Seven Wonders and somehow streamlined it.
Yeah.
Because if I wanted to streamline Seven Wonders drafting game, I'm playing Sushi Go.
Yeah.
And this isn't necessarily drafting, but what makes it neat is that every wonder has a deck of cards that kind of goes with like their style of cards.
Yeah.
Right? And you shuffle up that deck and you put it on your left. Well, on your turn, you can choose either the top pile of your deck, the top pile of the player on the right side's deck, to your right, because it's in between the players, or a random card off the top of the middle deck, which just has like a slew of everything. That's it. You just trade in sets of them. You have a couple of skills that come from Seven Wonders originally, or Seven Wonders Duel, that they put into this. It's incredibly simple. It's super streamlined. It's really fun. It still plays to 7 players, and it does it better than everybody. It's a little slower because everybody's taking turns, but your turns are faster than in Ticket to Ride.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
Yeah,
I do want to try this one. It looks really good.
It's fast. I can't believe how fast it really is.
Really? Okay.
It goes probably 30 minutes, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was intrigued when they announced this because I heard they pull a little bit from Seven Wonders Duel. They streamlined Seven Wonders down.
Right.
And I'm like, I like Seven Wonders Duel. So if you're pulling stuff from Seven Wonders Duel...
This might even replace Seven Wonders Duel for me.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll have to check this one out.
I haven't played Seven Wonders Duel in a while, and I'm wondering, I think I still own it. But yeah, I mean, Seven Wonders Architects is hands down significantly better.
All right, cool.
I can't encourage it.
And the fact that it's a Seven Wonders multiplayer game that isn't just 2-player only makes it intriguing to me. Cause
exactly.
I like Seven Wonders Duel, but you can only play with 2 people. And if you're having a game night with 4 to 5 people...
Yeah, well, sorry. And I'm not about to bust out Seven Wonders.
Heck no.
Yeah.
So my number 1 and your number 3 are the same game, and that's why we waited on it.
Yep.
And it's from one of our favorite designers.
Absolutely. Summer Camp by Phil Walker Harding.
The reason why I put this on my list, I saw it. I'm like, this has to go on my list. It was my first honorable mention that I thought of. And it's because it is by far one of the best deck builders that you can play. And I honestly think if you're talking about like, I think Dice Tower calls them welcoming games now, or gateway games and stuff like that. This is a gateway game for people who haven't played a deck builder before. So if you're introducing family members or people who are familiar with gaming but they're just new to the hobby, and you're like, oh hey, let's try this deck builder. I know you're making reference, like if someone came to the shop and said, hey, I've heard this thing about deck building, what game would you recommend? This is the one I would bust out. Just because of how simple it is, how easy it is. You're basically just racing your people down the pathway of 3 different areas, playing cards, trying to collect as much points as you can, and adding cards to your deck. making it go by faster. Trying certain ones allow you to shed your deck, making it easier to use your more powerful abilities. But it is so phenomenal. And the thing is, you play only 3 packs. There's 8, 9 in the box.
There's 7.
There's 7, yeah. So you're going to be able to play different combinations throughout the entire game. It's easily expandable because you could add more stuff just on the cardways and add to the pathways. You don't even need that more boards or anything like that. Plus, you can set up the board differently every time because it's 9 small boards that can be just mixed up, and so your rewards will be different on each path compared to the last game you played.
Yep.
It's a phenomenal game.
And you can combo it. You can do all sorts of cool stuff. It's, my go-to will be Clank. Yeah.
No, don't get me wrong. Clank is a good gateway deck builder. In a sense, this one is much simpler. It is just basically what Phil Walker Hardy does. He finds a mechanism that he likes, and he streamlines it to its basic core and makes a great game around that.
That's right.
And I truly love Summer Camp.
That's right. All right, cool. So then those are our honorable mentions. I think we're just about ready. Yep. And of course, when we're doing our debate, anybody who's joining us live, the benefit of joining us live is you get to join in on the debate. Tell us your opinion. You might be able to sway one of us. Because we will be deciding this from the top 8. But regardless of that, just our opinion, it's not just that. We try to be as objective as possible.
Yes.
We have 5 criteria that we're going to be ranking these on. These criteria are simply, we start with ease of play. How simple is the game, or how familiar are the mechanisms that somebody can get into?
Yep.
If you have to read like an hour-long rule book just to figure it out, it's probably not as that. How likely you can get it to the table, either by the mechanisms, like if it's a roll and move somehow, or that's decent, or if the theme is attractive to people, or finally, how prone to analysis paralysis. This is a negative mark on it.
Yeah.
And that's like if it's giving you a million options, and somebody's going to take an hour long on their turn, that like the shiny dice game.
Yeah.
Like the Firefly game that we talked about in a previous episode.
Or future episode.
It'll be a future episode coming up. If it's convoluted and people are just taking their turn and you're just waiting there.
Yeah.
Because your head is hurting so bad because of just considering all the different options, then that could be a detriment to the game.
Which he was showing a demonstration of analysis paralysis there a minute ago.
Which was?
Just keep it going. Just keep it
going.
going. Just keep it going.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So the next one on our list here is replay value. This is the length of time and scaling well the game. If you add more players, how much more of the time becomes? Does a 1 hour game that plays fine at 3 players become a 3 hour slog at 6 players? That kind of thing could problem is a 1 or 2 player game as good as a 4 player game.
Right.
That's what we mean by that. Minimum number of plays to get to the full experience. This just basically means, do you play the game? You played chess once, you kind of know how to play it. You're not good at it, but you know how to play it. Whereas something like Gloomhaven, there's a lot of stuff in there. So that gives it a chance where I'm probably about 50 games in Gloomhaven. I'm still not done with it.
Right.
Well, more like 30, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Significant amount.
Yeah.
Right.
And the expandability. And what we mean by this is already existing expansions. Up to one publisher or one possible future expansion. Basically, we were usually Space Base. It's Volume 1. Then we're thinking there's going to be a Volume 2,
which they've announced.
Where they finally announced there is a Volume 2.
Yep.
Or has been confirmed by the designer or publisher, and we usually use Wingspan for this reference because both Elizabeth Hargrave and Jamie Stegmaier has said they want to do an expansion for every continent.
That's right. Our next criteria is meaningful choice. This is very simple. Like, how well can you strategize in the game, really?
Yeah.
How well do your how the choices you make in each turn you take, how well it impacts other players' strategies? Mm-hmm. How well it impacts your long-term strategy, which is really important. You're not just playing by your seat, trying to figure it out. Or how likely arbitrary choices have an impact on the gameplay.
And that's a negative kind of like analysis paralysis.
Right, exactly. And it's worth noting that, arbitrary choices could also be like, it's like, well, none of my options are good, but it could also be every option is great, Therefore, none of mine are an
Or
advantage.
my choice is made by a roll of the dice or a flip of a card.
Like I don't have the choice in this.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Next one, and this is an important one for us per se, it's game immersion. Does the game fit the category best, or does the theme match the mechanism? It just depends on which category we're going with. So
Right.
I think this is more for theme matching the mechanism this week.
Yep.
So does it match? Is it a roll and move that makes sense? Are you moving cars around the board or a racing game kind of stuff? All hell Ameritrash. Yeah. Player interaction, table talk. Are you getting into the role? Are you being the character you're playing as in the game?
And specifically, this is not functionally like part of the game.
Yeah.
But like if you're playing like a social deduction game,
Yeah.
like how likely are you going to start talking like a pirate if you're a pirate character?
Yeah.
You know.
And also, and this is subjective but memorable moments. What are those things that are going to make you stand up at the table and scream like a moron across the room to get everybody to turn their heads because you did something so amazing?
Exactly. And our final of the 5 criteria that we have is art and production, which we understand.
Subjective.
You know, it is subjective, absolutely. But, I mean, some games are just very clearly better art than others, you know. Less subjective is the quality of the components. Like,
I will say this, because we're doing 2021 games,
Yep.
art is going to be very hard because all of these are very well done.
Yeah, all of the art on these are pretty solid. Yeah, there's not much that we'll have to argue with those. Next is pieces and components, and that's just, you know, plastic minis. Sure, they're nice to have, but are they worth it? Are they beneficial to the game? There is some games that we've played where the miniatures were too big for the spots. It's like, well, that becomes a problem all of a sudden. And then lastly, graphic design, which for our new viewers and those who don't know us or just listening to the podcast, Daniel and I are both colorblind. Color friendly is very important. But also, I mean, like for non-colorblind people, what if it's like covered in icons? Do those icons make sense? Are they
easily
referenced?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you understand what it is? Or is it just a block of text? Like, are you going to sit there reading a paragraph every time you take a turn?
And I like using Pandemic for this. The graphic design, do the lines make sense? Can you connect where you need to go? Is it going there? And what I like about what they did with Pandemic, the graphic design, they give you the coordinates where you can find where your cards are on the board.
Yep. So it's smart.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And finally, the last thing, it's not really one of our criterias, but if we can't come up with a consensus of which to move on, we go to the fan votes. And that's why it's important if you ever go to Board Game Revolution and see one of our top 8 debate polls, put your vote in and put your 2 cents in, because that is our tiebreaker.
Yep, that's right. We leave it up to the audience to decide. So each one of these rounds, we're going to pair a head-to-head game, our highest seed versus our lowest seed of what we haven't debated so far. We'll flip the coin of doom, and that will decide who debates first. We'll also shake up the cup of doom, which Daniel is doing now, and decide who gets which one for us to make an argument for, and then we'll decide at that point. So the first one, you will be debating first, and this is Onk versus Juicy Fruits.
I get Onk.
Okay.
You get Juicy Fruits.
I will get Juicy Fruits.
And apparently another game that was in the cup.
From months ago.
Let's see what game it was. Hold on. Squirrel.
Yep.
El Grande.
El Grande. Well, El Grande was not a 2021 game. Not quite.
All right, so I got to argue Onk. I will say this. If it was going up against any other game in this list, I would give it art and production.
Yes.
But Juicy Fruits is really, really well produced too. The minis are great on Onk.
Yep.
They're very.
Is this Simon also?
Yes, it's a Simon. So I mean, come on. It's a very pretty game, mind you. It's very brown.
Yeah, very brown.
Because it's in an
colors.
Egyptian desert. So
Yeah.
I do like some of the mechanism in the game. There's one, let's talk about it. We didn't get to see it because we had to leave, but the merging. I've heard really bad things about the merging with it. So I'm not sure how I feel about that part of the game. I was intrigued by it. I really enjoyed it. I was enjoying it, but they call it a trilogy game. It's with Blood Rage, Rising Sun, and this one. I wasn't as enamored with this game as I was with the other two.
No.
You haven't played Rising Sun, so right. I do like Egyptian lore and stuff like that. So it's not easy to play. It's not going to win easy to play. I can tell you that much. No. Like I said, it could have a push for art and production. It's going to work well from there. Replay value, no. It's a CMON Kickstarter. It came with like four or five expansions when it kickstarted. So it's probably going to get the replay value part of the game.
Maybe.
Just by the expansions alone. You
yeah,
don't,
probably.
Meaningful choice. I don't think
the scaling is not great.
No, the scaling is not great. I've heard it's pretty decent like at a 3-player game, but afterwards it becomes a slog. Me personally, I like Donk. I just don't think it should go on.
Okay. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I did not mind the experience. It is good.
I just want to say real quick, Illuminous is right. Rising Sun is still Magnus Opus. Yes, that is. I love that.
I need to try it one of these days. Yeah. So I'm gonna argue for Juicy Fruits. Now, Juicy Fruits, I bought it based on once I learned about the main mechanism. That you just slide a tile, take that many actions of that tile.
How many spaces?
Yep, however many spaces. So if I move it 2 spaces, I take it twice. So if I'm moving like the tomato piece, I get 2 tomatoes. Simple as that. You have big chunky wooden bits. That mechanism is incredibly fast. The setup is really smart. You have 2 different ways to play it. You know, everything makes sense for the setup except for the colors. The orange and green, I don't agree with them choosing those 2 because it does hurt us a little bit. But with that being said, it wasn't so much that, like, that's just functional for setup.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the gameplay itself.
And it plays quickly.
It plays incredibly fast.
It took us longer to figure out how to play the game than actually play the game.
Yeah, because when we were done, we were like, wow, that's it? Oh my, I want to play this again. Like that. It's rare that I get that moment where I'm like, I want to play this game again right now. I kind of wanted to do that the very first time we played it.
Yeah.
And I've played it a number of times ever since, and it always has that same reaction. It's a really satisfying puzzle. Chung, 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 chung,
and
chung.
let's just to be honest here. This game we played once, like in June or something like that.
Yes.
Had a great time playing it. I still remember it. It snuck on our top 100, both of our top 100 games of all time by one play.
Right. And so I don't want to discredit people who voted for Onk because I think the people who liked Onk as much as they do, and I appreciated Onk. I liked it better than Blood Rage easily. Mm-hmm. I don't know about Rising Sun. I haven't played it yet, but Blood Rage, hands down, it was better because I like the simplicity of the mechanism. Of just, you choose 2 of the actions, you move the piece forward, that's your action. There's only 4 actions. But it can't beat the simplicity of slide a tile, take an action, done.
Yeah, ease of play, honestly, Juicy Fruits.
Yeah.
You go into art and production, I think both of this are pretty good. The art I like better in Juicy Fruits, just because it's more vibrant, more tropical.
Yeah. Sure.
The production value, as good as the wood chunkies are, I'll give the minis to Onk.
Yeah.
Graphic design, I mean, for Juicy Fruits, the graphic design, just sense. Because that slide board, the only thing with us is the color blindness, but even then we can still kind of tell the orange and the green apart.
Yeah, just it's only for setup. It's not, it does not functionally stop the game.
Replay value, I think, goes to Onk.
Yes.
Meaningful choice, I have to give that to Juicy Fruits myself.
Yeah.
And game immersion, I got more immersed in Juicy Fruits than I did Onk.
Yeah, we did. So, believe it or not, we're going to start with an upset. Sorry for everybody who voted for Onk, but we are going with Juicy Fruits. Moving on.
Which is going to be our number 8 seed.
And Illuminous just told me, please change that when I think based on the comment, like, I haven't played
Rising Suns
yet.
It's really good. It's just hard to get 3 players because you have to play it with 3 minimum.
Right. And Illuminous, have you played either of these 2 games, or what are your thoughts? Going on to our next round, Red Rising versus Rolling Realms.
It's the Stonemeyer bracket.
The Stonemeyer R&R bracket.
Yeah.
Red Rising, Rolling Realms. There's a lot of R's. I have Onk open, but... Alright, yeah. So, you own Onk, haven't played Juicy Fruits yet. I highly suggest Juicy Fruits. It's a really satisfying little puzzle. All right. So this next one, I'll be starting us off, and I'll be arguing for
Rolling Realms.
Rolling Realms. Okay, so you said it in a future episode that Rolling Realms was created as a pastime for
Past episode.
Was it the past
It was
episode?
on the first episode.
Okay, quick. So in a past episode, Jamie Stegmaier created it as kind of a way to pass time, like get people involved in like his design process. How he did it, he started off with a concept. He made a quick prototype. He had people play it online, got live feedback. First off, I just want to give a shout out, if anything else, to Jamie Stegmaier for doing that, because I know I tuned into those, his live plays. I played along with it. I did a print and play of it. That was what we needed. In 2020, we absolutely needed that. Like, and the fact that he did that, it was fantastic that he did that. So regardless of the game itself, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
This is the new Roll and Write. Has nothing to do with Charterstone though.
Actually, it does.
Well, I mean, technically. Right?
Technically. So basically, those for who don't know what Rolling Realms is, it's a roll and write game.
Right.
And the reason why it's Rolling Realms because each of the cards that you're playing with are based off a game in the Stonemaier library.
Right.
And each of them do their own thing. So yes, there is a Charterstone card in there that whatever it is.
Boxes.
Yeah. So what you do is because you're going to roll 2 dice every turn, and everybody's going to take those numbers. So if I roll a 5 and a 2, if I take the 5 and put a 2 down in the crates back there, and if I say I have like 3 or 4 2s in one of those crates, if you roll a 2 again, you can take that die and open all those crates, which would give you your stars for that card.
Right.
And he does that for every single one that where it kind of plays off of the actual game, like using the dice. This does this, like Scythe. You do this, you get a star down here if you have the number or the resource to pay for it.
Right. And the system is really simple. You roll 2 dice, pick one. You know, we've seen that in other places like
Well, you pick both of them.
Super
it's
Skill.
just that one die goes into one round,
right,
the second die goes in the other round.
Right, exactly. So it's cool how it works. I think it's for a roll and write, it's really innovative. The fact that you're using all these different realms, one of which would not be played like for each of the games. You know, you play over 2 of them. Yeah, you play over 3 rounds and you choose 3 realms each, you know. So there's a lot of replayability, and that adds in room for, you know, any future games he publishes. He could throw a Rolling Realms card in it.
Yeah.
You know, and that would be fun for anybody who does it. Easy expansions, and it's almost infinitely replayable because of that.
Yeah, it changes.
You know, and I think
and those dice are amazing.
The components are really well done. Dry erase cards.
Yeah, dry erase cards is really good.
So, I mean, I hate to say it. I liked Red Rising. I think this should move on.
All right, so I get to argue Red Rising and why I think it should move on.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. I'm a Stonemaier fanboy. I will fully admit that. I own every single one of the games. Actually, you see or a lot of them over his head right there. And they just keep going up. They're literally 2 shelves straight up. But I like Rolling Realms. It's good. The only thing is the art on the cards aren't all that great. The production value is through the roof for it.
Yeah.
But I love the way Red Rising goes, and this combos, and this combos, and this combos, and then, hey, I don't want any gray, so let me do Stonemaier versus Stonemaier. Yeah, this is tough, especially when we're going to like art and production. What is this game?
Right.
I really like the art in Rising Sun, or Red Rising. We keep thinking of Rising Sun.
Right.
I love the card play in it too, because you put one card down, you can pick up from a different area where you grab up, and so your card could have a special ability when you play it down. The one you pull up, you get the special ability, the location you do. It's got a little area control. It's got a little bit moving up to try to trigger. 7 is the triggers all over the board. Illuminous agrees Red Rising should move on. It's just like I go through the thing. I think Rolling Realms will ease a play, but it's not that simple for a thing because you got to learn what each realm does. Right. And sometimes I have to explain it to a couple times when I'm teaching new players.
And I don't disagree, but you only teach 3 at a time. And once you get the concept of the first round, it makes more sense. But Red Rising, you have to know what the factions do and how they pertain to each other.
You don't need to know what the factions do. You just need to read the card.
Yeah, but that's a lot of reading and that's a lot of overhead.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true.
without knowing the backstory or playing it, it's a lot to
The
consider.
thing is, you don't need to know the backstory to play Red Rising, and in fact, it has no spoilers other than
I
who the
know.
characters are
Oh, I
in the
know.
game.
But it makes more sense, though, when you do it.
No, not really. I've read the first book, and I got a buddy who's read the entire series, and the game itself is just using the characters and kind of what the stuff does.
I can't give you that it's easier.
No,
ease of
I'm not
play.
saying Red Rising's
Okay.
easier. I said Rolling Realms is easier. It's just
Okay,
Rolling
Rolling
Realms. It's not as easy as you make it sound.
No, it's not as easy as most roll and writes.
Yeah.
I give you that. It's it's one of the more
I
complicated.
know Red
roll and
Rising
writes.
can lead to more analysis paralysis too.
Yes.
That's why I'm saying ease of play is
Okay.
Rolling Realms hands
Agreed.
down.
Yeah.
Art and production, I just think Red Rising just ekes it out.
Yep.
Replay value, you're not going to see all the cards in one playthrough
Right.
of Red Rising.
Or Rolling Realms.
I've seen all cards in 2 games.
Right.
I played 2 games of it, and I've seen everything. And I didn't even choose. It was all random. Red Rising, you'll play multiple games before you see all the cards. Because there is a lot in there.
But it is more expandable, though. Is Rolling Realms.
Rolling Realms is, yeah, because you can always just make one more thing.
Right.
But doesn't necessarily mean he's going to do it. He's not agreed with it. Is this the holiday podcast? No, we're just kind of reviewing the end of the year.
Yeah, so our debate right now is the top 8 games of 2021 that him and I have both played.
Meaningful choice. I think there's just a lot more meaningful choices in not Rolling Realms, Red Rising.
Okay, I give you that. I do agree with that.
Because there's plethora of cards on the table.
Okay.
You have like a choice where if you don't want to take anything, if you like what's in your stack, then you could just scout and basically just try to collect stuff to help it trigger the end game.
Right.
And game immersion. Oh, that one's tough.
Yeah, because Red Rising, so I don't know anything about the theme on Red Rising, but here's the thing with game immersion. In-game immersion, do the themes match the mechanisms in Rolling Realms?
they
It
match
really
the game.
does. It matches every game that you are doing. You're playing like it's kind of like a super mini version of whatever game you're playing, and that's really big.
No,
that's hard to do, but it does it well. Well, Red Rising, I'm gonna pass that to you because I don't know the theme, so I don't know how accurate that theme is being portrayed with the
giving
mechanism.
spoilers of the series, it does match the theme pretty well because the golds
Then I
are very
trust you on that.
powerful and the gold cards are very powerful. The red cards are people who are fighting for their freedom.
Yeah.
And you can see that with how very attacky they can be at times, or like this person needs this person with them, and this way they can do like an uprising type thing. So it does fit in that thematic sense if you're familiar with the series.
Then I'm willing to say Red Rising goes on then.
Well,
based on that.
it would have gone on anyways because I already won 3 of the.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. Art and production, replay value, a meaningful choice.
Oh, we didn't agree on replay value, but either way.
Yes, you said.
meaningful
I'll
choice.
give you that.
Okay, well, whatever. That's fine. I will.
So it's going to go up against
Argle
Juicy Fruits.
Bargle. So Red Rising is moving on.
So we'll take that out. We'll take that one out.
And In Flames 991, thank you for joining us too as well. We appreciate you.
All right. So where is this?
Our next one will be our number 3 seed Cubitos versus.
Horrified American Monsters.
Did we actually go through like our normal like breakdown of what
our seeds
list?
were? Yeah. No, I don't think we did because we're trying to push this in under 2 hours.
Gotcha. Okay. So normally we go do the back and forth.
Yeah.
But all right, let's see here. So Cubitos versus Horrified American Monsters. I'll be starting us off. And which one am I arguing for? Cubitos. Actually, between the two, I do think this is one that I do think should move on. And that's because Horrified, this is the sequel. And in comparison to the original, I think it's a disappointment. Where Cubitos takes, a deck builder or a dice builder and ramps it up to 11. It's a racing game where you are buying dice, trying to move as fast as you can, trying to use the abilities effectively. Using the multiple dice idea is that as long as you roll any symbol on any of your dice, you can keep going and press your luck, right? And everybody's doing it simultaneously too, so it's like this cool little like dice chucking round. And so as you're dwindling on the dice, depending on what kind of dice you have, some have more symbols, some have fewer symbols. I love that press your luck idea of it. And he even balanced it away from it so you don't ever bust on the first turn. You have to set aside at least 3 dice before you're allowed to bust. So, I mean, if you just have garbage rolls, well, you'll always have at least 3 dice you can go off of. And so it helps mitigate that. And the fact that there's like 56 cards or something, each one of the 8 dice types have multiple abilities that you can play with, and that's insane amounts of replay value. That's I mean, if you want to play with everything, technically you could go with like 7 or 8 different games minimum to see every card. And that's not even every combination. That's just every card.
Yeah.
So, and you have multiple boards. You have different scenarios for the boards. You have, if you do bust, you go up on like the favor track and like the audience starts cheering for you more. The components are really good. The boxes, I don't have a problem with the boxes like some people do.
I hate the boxes.
I know. I don't have that big of a problem with them personally.
The dice are nice. I just think they're too small and honest.
Sure, yeah. But I mean, it's a lot of dice.
Yeah, it's a lot of dice. The thing is, those boxes make it look like there are more dice than there are. Just...
Right. Sure. I don't blame you on that one. No, I think it was AEG's attempt to do what Red Rising is supposed to do, where they had it, where they had all of the component, like they didn't have an insert. They have all the components create the insert.
Yeah.
And it technically had an insert, but I threw it away. There's no reason to have that insert in it at all. But overall, I think it's just a better game, and that's saying how much I like Horrified, the original, but I had some gripes against the remake, so go for it.
I understand those gripes with your remake too. For one thing, everything's basically 3 spaces apart. There's no really escaping anything.
You can get any space to any space on the board, just about.
And the one that really bothered me, and this goes on the graphic design, is the typos on the actual pieces. I can handle typos in a rule book. It sucks as long as it doesn't give you like a game breaking rule or something like that. But on the game pieces, there's one that actually comes up as police station when they're meeting sheriff station. The only problem is there's also a ranger station. Yeah. So that is a big issue. I do like Horrified, and I do like the American Monster ones. I love some of the stuff that they're doing. Like, I love playing against Bigfoot. I love the fact that you're just trying to reveal Bigfoot as a real cryptid. But again, if I had to choose between the two, I'm going to pick the first one, just because I like the Universal Monster movies better. But also, it's like I was telling Illuminus here, it's really that good. That's why it took over. It's a very popular game. It's my number 2 all-time game. Surprising even me on that. Right.
Yeah, the original is phenomenal, and even with the hype, like I wasn't expecting this to be as good or better. I was expecting it to be at least as good, and I love cryptids like that. I like that way better than the Universal Monsters.
Yeah,
but it let me down.
Well, I will say this about the game: it's beautiful, it's well produced, the graphic design is well, except for the typos on the pieces. Like I said, I can handle a typo in a rule book as long as it doesn't break any rules. But on the actual pieces, how did that not get fixed or seen? And another big thing about it too is some of the monsters that they deem easy are not that easy. Like the what is it? The Banshee of the Badlands, the one with the violin.
Yeah.
It's if you work on it, that's fine. It's really simple. But when you have the other 2 monsters on the board and you have to concentrate them on as well, the Banshee just starts steamrolling you.
Yeah.
And so once your violin, one of the violins pops into the bottom, you start moving that terror track up. I think it's one of the more difficult ones. I understand why Bigfoot's difficult, because he has to move for you to get footprints, for you can start developing film and flipping the pieces over and putting the proper puzzle. I'm okay with that difficulty on it because it makes sense and it's fun. You have a great time with it. With the Banshee of the Badlands, it's kind of game breaking at times when you're like, well, we should concentrate on this because they keep taking all the stuff over there, and you start ignoring her. And she's usually the lowest one on the monster card, so she's going to probably pop off every turn. So maybe you got to start concentrating over there, and then it moves. Right. And so it's ramped up more difficulty. And another issue with Horrified American Monsters is because Horrified was so good because it was Prospero Hall. Yeah. This was a whole different designer based off of Prospero Hall's design.
Which is a fine designer in his own right. Yeah.
But it doesn't have the as streamlined as it should be compared to
Yeah.
the original Horrified.
You can tell where the standards lay.
Yeah.
Like how Prospero Hall approaches their designs.
Honestly, I think they also they pushed this out, especially when you think about it with Prospero Hall too, about the streamlining.
Yep.
They're a group, so one person's job is to do this, one person's job to do this. This guy may have had people working with him, like the publisher,
Right.
but it was just him doing it by himself, and sometimes that's good or bad, but at least Prospero Hall had the team behind everything.
Right. Exactly.
But I'm going to go through the list real quick. Cubitos is easy to play. Horrified can lead to
Horrified's
more.
easier.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit more analysis paralysis, but we ran into it when we played Cubitos.
Yeah. I think
choosing the dice properly, what you want, can slow things down.
Right.
Art production. Both of them are produced really well. I think I give a slight edge to the Cubitos because
it doesn't have typos.
It doesn't have typos, and the dice faces are different for all the dice over there, except for if it's all the light blue dice, they all the same, but they're very cool what they're doing, and they're all designed. The minis though are great in Horrified. That's one of the best Bigfoot minis I've ever seen.
Right.
But I think Cubitos wins arts and production.
Agreed. Yeah.
Replay value. Cubitos.
Yes. Hands down.
Meaningful choices. Both are really good about this.
Yep.
This one's tough for me. I would say Horrified, just because when you're in the race, you're not really affecting someone else's strategy. You're the only effect is you're pushing your luck and you're trying to move across the board. I think Horrified wins meaningful choice. Game immersion. They're both pretty good. Cubitos, I think,
personally, just because
matches the mechanism better.
Yeah, absolutely. Just because you're rolling, it's exciting. You're moving along. You're trying.
You're getting
when
into
you
it,
see
you're
one person
trash-talking.
jumping ahead, you're like, oh no, I need to start figuring this out.
Well, and you're trash talking too the whole time because you're trying to egg them on to push their luck, and that's just the inherent thing about
with racing. Yeah,
and the fact is, since it's a race game, you are. If you're a racer, you're getting into it because you're trash talking the other racers on the field.
Agreed.
Like, why are you guys so far behind? Why are you way over there?
Right? Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. So I think you and I agree. Cubitos is moving on. And so now it goes into our final of the quarterfinal round. We have Alien Fate of Nostromos versus Bullet Heart. I think it's just called Bullet, but the Heart is the base set. The original one.
Because there's a Bullet Orange.
All right, and you're going to be starting us off. And Bullet Star coming up soon.
Yep. The one I get is Bullet Heart. I know you wanted that one.
I did want that. That's okay. I might have a chance to argue it again.
Honestly, I should give you Bullet Heart because you know the designer and you play tested it, but you know how it goes.
Yep.
Bullet Star. Bullet Heart is probably one of the best push your luck games. It's push your luck because it's bag building and
building speed. It feels like a bullet hell.
You're honestly, I don't really know how to describe it other than anxiety.
Yep.
Because it plays quickly too. You can play it like 15 minutes. If you're playing a solo game, it's 10, if that.
Right.
And when we're going through this list, it's easier than Alien. I'll give it that. I had to teach Alien. It was not that easy.
Nope.
Even as simple as it is. Art and production. Alien's really well produced. I like the minis in it. They're pretty good. The art's okay. I just like the art in Bullet. And I'm not a huge anime art guy.
Right.
But it's got... And I'm just not even talking about the art in this game. Because we talk about the art, but let's talk about the production value.
Well, let's talk about the art real quick. Because, one... they chose to go all heroines. Like nothing but a female cast. And on top of that, Level 99 did them a good service because like you would imagine dungeon crawl like female characters, it's like you're wearing basically a bikini. That's stupid. That's not armor. These characters are clothed in a way that makes absolute sense to their character and their style.
Yeah, no.
It makes sense and they didn't
No.
on that. They're not doing it for anime fanboys. No. They just happen to have artists that are really good at anime style.
And here's the thing about, you were saying the deluxe tokens for Bullet Heart. Yeah, it's the tokens are really nice deluxe-wise. I have the basic game. I have the cardboard tokens, and they're phenomenal.
Yeah.
The bags are amazing, and I'm talking about the production now.
Yeah.
Because there's one thing that this game has that none of these has.
Which is?
A built-in soundtrack for each heroine
Yes.
that you're using.
That production value.
Yeah, they produce that just for this game, and because it also helps with the timer too.
That is a timer.
And you feel the anxiety with it because they're so fast-paced. Really good. It is top-notch production. The replay value, 2 expansions that we know of right now. One's already out, one's coming out.
Yep.
The meaningful choices, I would probably
maybe less.
give that one to Alien.
Yeah.
Because you're basically depending on what's coming out of the bag. And finally, game immersion. I get into Bullet when I play it. It's just an amazing game.
Their goal was to make a game that feels like a bullet hell, because that's what it is. That's why it's called Bullet. And for those of you guys who don't know what a bullet hell is, it's a video game where there's just constant like onslaught of like bullets and things that will kill you, like heading towards you, and you're trying to dodge them while you're trying to take out the boss or fire back or stop them in some way, and you're trying to maneuver around these. That is the pieces that you're pulling are bullets, and you hate every second of every single one of those you pull, but you need them.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You need them to win. You need them to load the bullets on everybody else. Every round you get more, and you add more to your bag, and you pass more to the opponents, and it gets crazier and crazier and crazier. And
Again,
you can deal
like
with
I said, this is Anxiety the board game.
Yeah, it's so good.
But good.
Yeah.
So you can argue Aliens. So
Okay, I am going to argue Aliens because I've played both this and Nemesis, and having not watched any of the movies, I definitely felt the theme in the Alien the board game, and I you know. It was more engaging.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I like this better than Nemesis.
I have to agree with you. I do like this more, and also because I love the theme too.
Right, and because they took everything like, Nemesis is good, right, and it's solid for what the game is trying to do. The problem that I have with, and I hate to compare the two, but that's really kind of what Nemesis was trying to do.
Yeah.
It was convoluted. It was trying to do everything, whereas this, it's just like, no, we're going to give you the task. You'll encounter a lot of stuff, but you don't have to deal with them always.
And then the fact that you have where you have to just save the Nostromo, but there's other stuff in the game that changes the game too. So there's replay value there as well.
There is, absolutely. I would not rank Aliens nearly as low as some of the games that are on our list even, but I just think Bullet is a better game for all the reasons that you said. Hands down.
Oh yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. You know, I like Alien. I think Bullet is the better game, and I'll just tell you, I think Bullet's easier to play.
Yes.
I think it has a better production value than Aliens, even though Alien has a great one. That board is a little messy.
Yep.
Replay value, Bullet.
Yep.
Meaningful choice, Bullet. Oh no, I'll give that one to Alien.
Yep.
And then game immersion, I just get more into Bullet, just because again the soundtrack helps.
Absolutely. Good deal. All right. Well, that finishes our quarterfinals. So moving on was Red Rising, Cubitos, Bullet, and Juicy Fruits. Daniel, I think you had it listed of how many votes our fans voted for each of the games that were eliminated.
All right. So starting with Alien, the most recent one, Fate of Nostromo, it was in last place with 8, or with 0.
0 votes.
0 votes. It's in 8th place at 0 votes.
Yeah.
Next, eliminated was Horrified, American Monster. That was in 6th place with 3 votes, tied with Bullet. Or actually, 5th place, tied with Bullet. Moving on to Rolling Realms. That was... Where are you, Rolling Realms? Our 3rd best vote getter was 6. Right. And finally, Onk, our number 1 seed, was also our number 1 vote getter that got eliminated with 34 votes.
Yep. Sorry, Onk. Yeah, I guess, if we had our mutual friends on here who are much bigger fans of Eric Lang, they would probably push it harder, but they also were the ones who backed it. So, there is that bias going into it, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. And we try to take our bias out of it.
Right. Not saying that they're biased. It's just if you've already researched the game to the point where you're willing to back something that expensive on Kickstarter, you're pretty much certain that you're going to like it. And even if it's bad,
you'd be surprised. I backed Ghostbusters, the board game, and I didn't like it.
No, true. But at the same time, you were more willing to give it a chance.
Yeah, true.
Right. So our next one is going to be Red Rising versus Juicy Fruits in the first of our semifinals. You'll be starting us off.
Juicy Fruits.
Okay.
All right, moving on to Juicy Fruits versus Red Rising. Juicy Fruits needs to move on. I love Red Rising. I think the production value is phenomenal at Stonemaier Game.
No, specifically the deluxe version.
The deluxe version. No, the actual
The
regular
regular
version
one
is
is
pretty
good.
good.
It's
But
very good.
the collector's edition is. I love the metal pieces in there.
Right.
However, even if you just buy the base game or the basic game, you could buy that at Target. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And actually, you could see the colors better if you're colorblind if you go with the original one.
Yeah.
However, Juicy Fruits, I just think, one, it's a much simpler game to play. The art in Red Rising, I like. I would probably say Red Rising gets the art in production. Replay value, again, that goes to Red Rising just because it will take you a while to see every single card in that game. However, I just think there's a lot more meaningful choice in Juicy Fruits just because
100%.
which one you're going to slide, how far you can slide it to,
Yep.
where you're going to place the new ones that you can get in. Like,
Even which, like, when
like
to buy
are
the
they a
big
split,
ones.
or when you're going to do, like, which split you're going to do. You're going to do the banana, or you're going to do the orange, you're going to kind of split it as evenly as possible. In the game immersion, I can get into Red Rising because I know the series, but Juicy Fruits, you're literally feel like you're a harvester going through the market trying to sell what you can and without. So for me, I just think Juicy Fruits should move on. It's a phenomenal game. I love Red Rising. It's probably, I think it was up there on my, at least in the top 50 of my top 100. But I just, honestly, I keep thinking about Juicy Fruits to the fact that one of my things is I don't want to own games that other people are in my game group to own. I probably want to pick this one up for myself. It was that good of a game.
It really was. Yeah. So I have to argue for Red Rising, huh?
Yep.
Okay. So, no, Red Rising, it really did have some very interesting things. It's based off of, not Fantasy Realms. Is it based off Fantasy Realms? Yeah. I think Fantasy Realms did a little better. It was a little more streamlined. But considering I cared less about the theme on this one, you know, unless it's a theme that I'm really into, I could care less. And it's not a theme that makes the game. And I was intrigued by the theme of this, especially from what you guys told me. So, and the production is really phenomenal. And it's not to say that it's a bad game, but in comparison between this and Juicy Fruits hits that perfect level of puzzle. It's a welcoming game that heavy strategic gamers can still put in. Great time, yeah, they can put in all of their effort and they can really figure it out. And it's not going to make the game longer just due to like the analysis paralysis. You can really just delve into it. And that level of strategy is up there with chess, as far as I'm concerned. Like it's that
it's
part
very
of the strategy.
crunchy for as easy as it is.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I think Juicy Fruits is fantastic, and I think it should move on.
I don't disagree with you. You know how I'm a Stonemaier fanboy, and I'll fight for them to the death. It just went up. It's a really good game.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. So our next one will be Cubitos versus Bullet.
I already know which one I think should move on. I'm interested in seeing which one you think
we'll
should
find
move
out.
on.
Heads. I'll be going first. I will make a solid argument for whichever one I get.
That's the wrong.
Oh yeah, it would help if we also had the same one. Bullet, Bullet, Bullet. So Illuminous is voting for Bullet already.
You get Bullet.
Okay. I mean, like I said, I can give a very solid argument for both of them because I both think they're both back builders. They're both they both have a lot of variety in how they can play. Cubitos is a racing game. There's so many different characters, components, but
Bullet is a racing game in a sense.
Well, yeah, it's a time thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's really brutal on how it does it, but you're constantly being pummeled by the game. But you have 8 different characters that all play in different ways, and that's just the base set. But on top of that, Bullet also has like team modes and cooperative modes where you're playing against the game itself, which is awesome. Like they took essentially a simple game of just drawing pieces and being pummeled by them, and turned it into like how can they level 99ify it?
Yeah.
Which is what they do. They make everything possible in their games. They take a simple concept and just ramp it up to 11. And in Bullet, you do that. It's incredibly immersive. The pieces are very decent. The upgrade, even with the cardboard.
Yeah.
I don't care if anybody tells me it's like, oh, well, the pieces will eventually start weighing. No, it doesn't matter. You're pulling them from a bag. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you know what piece you're
Well,
not going to be able to feel it and enjoy
like
it.
if you can feel it and several of them filled up, you don't know which one it could be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no way that you're going to be able to tell one piece from another.
Unless you have like
in,
very
a toilet or
good
something.
Tactile sensitivity.
But
Some
even the
people do.
timing,
Yeah.
like you're not going to notice it that quick.
Yeah, because again, anxiety of the board game.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, Bullet, it's a solid game. Trying to figure out how to deal with all those, using your character's abilities to either push the pieces or eliminate them, destroy them, however you want to send them to the next one. Yeah, real time puzzle. The only argument I have against this compared to the pool building in Cubitos is that there's a few players that I play with that cannot handle timed aspects of it, and they will sit there and they'll just want to like work out the puzzle itself, and they'll like it for that part of it.
Yeah.
But that's not the point of the game.
No, I get it.
And so anybody who likes the timed games, or who does not like them, who can't handle timed games,
weird, 'cause
will
I'm
not
not
be
a
able to
huge
play.
fan of timed games.
You don't have to be a fan, but you can tolerate them.
I can tolerate them.
Yes. I'm talking people who are absolutely against like real-time
the stress
games.
levels, I get
Yes. Yeah, they can't handle Bullet, which is probably the reason why they probably wouldn't play Bullet Hell games anyway.
Yeah, and then
So it
for
makes sense.
me, I got to argue Cubitos.
Yes.
No, don't get me wrong. I really enjoy Bullet, and I really enjoyed Cubitos. I think they're both really good games. I think John DeClaire hit another one out of the park
Yes,
here.
absolutely did.
Production value is through the roof, except for I hate those stupid boxes. I'm one of those people that don't like the boxes.
That's fair.
My big thing about it is that I think the dice are too small. In all honesty, just give me a little bit bigger. I mean, these are like peewee dice, like really tiny.
They're 12 millimeter.
Yeah, they're small. You see the size of this hand?
Well, I mean, but you also can be rolling, 10, 15 dice at a time.
Give me that. I like that. Give me bigger dice for that. It's fun. I just think when I'm going through this, one of them is easier than the other. I know which one I think is easier. Don't get me wrong. They're both pretty simple. It's just that once you start playing Bullet, and figure out how your character plays, that's all you got to worry about other than trying to figure out how to puzzle it.
Yeah.
Cubitos, you have to make sure, okay, what does this happen? Or this is where I'm going to bust if I get this one more thing.
Yeah.
Do I go out here and try to hit these flags so I can get points, or do I just keep going in the inside and trying to get through that race?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff easier that can lead to analysis paralysis. We ran into it a couple times, not a lot in Cubitos.
Yeah.
But I don't run into it with Bullet because you just can't.
Yeah. If you're the kind of person that sits there and really analyzes it, nope, you lose.
Art production, for me personally, I think Bullet has the better production value. Just, again, the theme songs help. The fact that they spent the time to do that, and it is part of the game. Yeah. Replay value, this one is a little iffy for me. It's going to be tough. I think Cubitos, just the base game alone, is going to take you a while to see everything. However, with all the expansions with Bullets already announced or are coming out.
And how do you function in different games?
Yeah.
Game level, you could do cooperative, you could do versus.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think there's more meaningful choices in Bullet. Even though they're fast-paced, I think it's just more meaningful choices.
I don't.
You don't? Okay.
I think because... and that's a counter-argument to timed games. I feel like it's purposefully designed. When you do a timed game, it's designed for one to make it so somebody who is just sit there and use analysis paralysis, like it forces them to not do it, but it also preys on your ability to avoid mistakes. And
Speaking of which, I can get
so
off that shelf.
the counter argument could simply be it's just like you've made less mistakes than I have in that, and that's not necessarily fair. Where it penalizes you for making like a split decision that at first would be arbitrary.
Okay, which one would... Okay, better yet.
Meaningful choice, I think, goes to Cubitos.
Okay. Let's just say this. I already think I know where it's going. Which one do you think should move on?
Based on the 5 criteria Bullet.
I agree with you, because ease of play, art and production, and replay value is all Bullet.
Yep, and immersion.
We haven't even done game immersion, but yeah, I agree.
Meaningful choice is definitely
I'll give you that.
Cubitos.
Yep. So this is an interesting bracket here for
Very
our
much.
final.
Yeah. All right, so our final is going to be Bullet versus Juicy Fruits. And as always in this final round, we do not pick a side. We do not argue for it. You've already heard the arguments. We just break down each of the 5 criteria and which ones we think should go on based on that. With that being said, real quick, the ones that were eliminated, how many
Red
votes did they get?
Rising was our second best vote getter at 9.
Okay.
And then finally, Cubitos, which was our 3 seed, was actually our 4th best vote getter at 5.
Okay.
So here's some fun time. Your
bullet
boys.
I am a little bit too, but I'll explain why later.
Yeah. However, this one, we're just going to go through our criteria. We don't pick our side. Which one is jumping out of you?
Ease of play. No, I'm sorry. Meaningful choice, I think, goes to Juicy Fruits.
I agree with you
Hands down.
on that. All right. There is not another one that actually jumps out at me right away other than meaningful choice.
Replay value, I feel, goes to Bullet.
Yep.
Yep. And that's just because it has more expansions, it plays quicker, it plays a larger scale of people. That's not to say...
Yeah.
Actually, I think technically it plays a little bit longer than Juicy Fruits, because Juicy Fruits is crazy fast.
Yeah.
But
well,
not...
depends. We've only ever played a 2-player with Juicy Fruits. We don't know how
I've
long
played
it-
multiples, yes.
Yeah,
I played
okay.
4-player. It doesn't extend it that much longer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, which one do you think is easier?
Let's see here. Simplicity.
Familiarity of the mechanism. I say that is Juicy Fruits because everybody's done that slide puzzle.
Yes. That's basically a 15 square puzzle.
Yeah.
Whereas Bullet, it is a bag builder technically, but I mean, no, you're really not bag building.
Yeah.
You're just dealing with whatever it is. You're placing wherever it goes.
Yeah.
That's tough. Yeah, that part would probably go to Juicy Fruits.
I'm going to
Likelihood-
skip the second one. Let's go to
Okay.
analysis paralysis. Just based on what's going on with Bullet, you can't have AP.
Yeah, you can't.
So, likelihood to get to the table based on the mechanism or the theme?
I think Bullet, because a lot of people who are familiar with that style of video game would probably like it. I mean, it's a less offensive version. Like, Juicy Fruit is a simpler, like, anybody can play it. All you're doing is sliding around fruit. You
But
know?
a lot of people are familiar with like those slide puzzles.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So I think based on the theme, Juicy Fruits, based on the mechanism, Bullet.
Bullet. So we're basically going to say a push.
But at the same time, the video gamers...
But not
They're
a lot
gonna-
of people or video gamers
No.
play board
I'm-
games.
Agreed.
So a board gamer would probably pick Juicy Fruit over a video gamer picking Bullet. So
Could be.
again, it goes back to a push on that one.
Okay, we'll call it a push. Ease of play is a tie. Okay. We've already done meaningful choice.
Yep.
Game immersion.
Oh.
Does the game fit does the mechanisms match the theme? And Bullet, hands down.
Hands down.
On that part.
Player interaction. Honestly, I think that one goes to Bullet too.
Yeah.
Because you're pushing stuff onto other people's boards
Right.
and putting them in their bags too.
And memorable moments are both full of memorable moments.
yeah.
Yeah. But I would say that's a wash, so it means Bullet moves on for that part.
All right, we're down to art and production.
Art and production.
The art. Which one do you think has better art?
Bullet.
I agree.
Yeah.
I honestly, there's not a lot of
And
art in
here's the
Bullet
thing.
compared to Juicy Fruit.
The company that publishes Juicy Fruit, I think it's Capstone Games.
Yeah.
I hate their covers. I don't know what it is. Like, there's something just so bland about their covers.
Yeah.
Savannah Park is the same way. This is the same. You know, there's
Yeah,
something.
they also did
that cover never sells me.
New York Zoo, right, with Uwe Rosenberg.
Yes. Yeah. There's just something like you look at the covers. You're like, it's not a bad cover. It's just there's something about it. It's like it just falls flat for me. That's just my opinion. But
Is this Cloud Age Capstone? Well, that's a pretty decent cover.
Cloud Age is a phenomenal cover. I think you're right. I think it is Capstone.
Yeah, it is Capstone.
Okay. Well, then I will eat my words on it as far as that game goes. But this one I don't think does it for me.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I like Bullet's art. It's way up there. I actually still have it on my shelf of shame, which shouldn't be there.
Yeah. And I like the evil versions of it. Like when you're playing against cooperatively.
When you're doing the co-op.
Of the heroines. Yeah, like you make them evil. Like that's cool.
And then you have pieces of components.
That would go to Juicy Fruits.
I think, yeah, I was going to say, just because I have the deluxe, or I have the basic, you have the deluxe. The deluxe is great.
Yeah.
But compared to Juicy Fruits, you could just buy the base game in any store.
Yeah.
And it'll have the
chunky wood
the
bits,
chunky wood
good
bits.
The cardboard. The tiles are good.
All right. So which is the better graphic design? I personally think it's Bullet. Just because it's easy to read as everything's coming down.
Right.
Once you learn your character, and it only takes you a few things to do it. Like, okay, this is my special ability. This came up. I can use this.
Right. I would say it's a push. And the reason I'm saying that is because I am very much biased towards Bullet because I gave feedback to the designer, who's also the graphic designer, too. That there was one very specific thing when he had me playtesting, knowing I was colorblind, that made it difficult for me, and he had fixed it. And that was because on the top of it,
so what you're saying is you got to rescind yourself from graphic design.
Realistically, I should take myself out of that because he made a change based on my suggestion.
I will. You know what? I'll say it's going to be a push, which means art production will be a push.
Okay.
Which means Bullet still wins.
Wow. So, our podcast, I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting it, but our podcast, Everyday Board Games, has just decided that the best game of 2021 that you and I have both played is Bullet.
I don't disagree with this pick. I thought it was going to be Juicy Fruit, in all honesty.
Yeah, me too.
But based on our criteria, because even if I gave the graphic design to, I don't think I could give the graphic design to Juicy Fruit. I really think Bullet has the better graphic design. Like you said, it's colorful bullets. They're easy enough for me to read, who's colorblind.
Right. Some of the colors do mess with me, but the thing I was telling you about that in that argument, so there is an icon above each of the columns.
Yeah.
And each of the bullets, the designs are technically different. They're fairly similar, but they are technically different. They were originally right on the very top line. So if you were to put a deluxe piece on that spot, you would not see the icon anymore.
And Ithri's not in the chat, so we can't give him props to having the best game of 2021. So you got to text him.
So I will send him a message. Normally, one of our common viewers, Ithri, he is the designer of that game, and he's been a friend of the podcast for a long time. He is just all around cool dude, very awesome guy, and we are more than happy to the best game.
And honestly, this was no bias. I honestly thought Juicy Fruit was going to pull it out. Yeah. Bullet came out of nowhere.
I won't even tell him. I'm just going to tell him, hey, it's in the running. Like, it was in our top 8. You should listen to our debate and see what you think. Get that extra viewership.
Oh, yeah.
Like what I'm doing here? Yeah.
Alrighty, so that was our top 8 debate, games of 2021. Congratulations, Bullet. In Level 99 Games, we think that was the best game we played from 2021 in 2021.
That's right. So thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We always enjoy it. If you ever want to contact us directly, I'm flipping this around a little bit. You can email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com with ideas or even just to say hi or thanks.
As well as you can get in contact with us on our official Twitter account at EBG Podcast.
Yeah, we want to give a shout out to Illuminus for this episode. Thank you so much. So Very Wrong About Board Games. Joined us in previous Mario Fanatic, Normal Friends, Ithri, Creative Chaos, all of them who join us on live. Also the other podcasters, Tabletop Bellhop. All cool people, and we appreciate you for doing it. If you ever want to watch a live episode, they do vary in time, but join us at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames, and please consider subscribing so that way we know, we can notify you when we join online.
Yeah, and as well as you can find all video re-uploads on YouTube at Everyday Board Games 2020. And if you like what we do here, there's 3 things you can do to help us grow on the platform. You can subscribe if you're not, like the video, and comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the subject. Which was your favorite game you played in 2021 on this episode?
Bullet.
As well as all audio versions can be found on most podcast platforms under Everyday Board Games Podcast. This includes Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, and Podbean.
So we want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Daniel.
And I've been Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And remember, every day is a good day for board gaming.